state. And they do that by carrying out a science program to research how do we better manage lakes and rivers. They do that through regulations that limit maybe what people can do around lakes and rivers in order to protect them. But for a lot of people in this room, what they do also is they share out $6.5 million a year in cost share money for local organizations and local governments to be partners in taking care of lakes and rivers. So some of you may know this just as the Clean Boat, Clean Waters grants. Some of you know this as the planning grants and lake plan implementation grants. We have education and outreach grants, a number of different programs. There's people outside who will talk to you gladly about the grant program. Our other statewide partner is Wisconsin Lakes. Wisconsin Lakes is a nonprofit organization. We often get confused for Wisconsin Lakes because the names kind of get mingled in people's heads. But Wisconsin Lakes used to be known as Wisconsin Association of Lakes. And they are an organization of organizations. So we would ask and hope that a lot of lake associations and lake districts join them as members. But you can also join them as an individual. So I live, for example, on the Wisconsin River. There's a dam and there's a flowage in front of my house, but there's no lake association because there's only like 10 houses or so on that stretch of the river. So rather than join a lake association, I join Wisconsin Lakes and I join River Alliance as two statewide organizations that can help take care of that water. And then at the bottom, there's us. There's Extension Lakes doing outreach and programming, education and training. So on our team, we have people who make sure that there's consistent training around Clean Boat, Clean Waters and the Citizens Lake Monitoring Network around the state. Our organization, or our Extension Lakes, basically has its roots in Chapter 33 of statutes, which created a statewide program for lake management and also set up a program where local lake organizations could form local governments called lake districts. So just a show of hands for people in the room here, how many people are part of a lake district? Good show of hands, thank you. So more than half of the people in the room are part of a lake district. The state law basically allows you to tax yourselves to fund programs to take care of these lakes. And that's a big part of the capacity challenge is money. But you still probably have challenges after that. Like, how do we actually take care of this lake? But Wisconsin, because we have thousands of lakes, we also have hundreds of these organizations. We have over 600 lake associations. We have over 250 lake districts. All of these have both a governance structure, board members and leadership, as well as members who are your audience, I guess, for taking care of lakes. And why are we focusing on capacity? What is the topic of the day? Well, we sat down with some people from the DNR a few years ago, and we tried to conceptualize, like, what exactly are we up to here with respect to taking care of lakes and rivers, and how are we doing, and how are we going to do it better in the future? And one of the challenges we ran into is that if you're going to buy your way into conservation, if you're just going to pay somebody to do this work for you, you probably don't have enough money to do it. It is expensive. So we try to take a look at one example. So this is just looking at the Yahara watershed in Dane County. This is the system that feeds into Lake Mendota, a famous lake in Madison, Wisconsin, as well as Monona and the chain of lakes. And they've been working on those lakes for a long time. In fact, they're some of the most studied lakes in the world because the University of Wisconsin-Madison sits right on those lakes. And the Center for Limnology, which is one of the old, limnology is the study of lakes. It's one of the oldest centers for limnology, and they've been collecting data on this lake. And what they've been seeing, which is probably going to resonate with a lot of you, is that the lakes aren't getting healthier over time. In fact, they're getting less healthy from a number of different stressors. But one of the main stressors is phosphorus, a nutrient runoff from farm fields, nutrient runoff from residential streets and neighborhoods, all thinking or using these lakes as a place for that water to go away to, runoff water. But that runoff water carries with it phosphorus. And that causes algae to grow and creates algal blooms. And if there's enough algae, it forms toxic algal blooms. And so people are concerned. We don't want a toxic lake. What are we going to do? Well, you put yourself on a phosphorus diet. You try to reduce how much phosphorus is coming into the lake. And they estimated out how much of a diet do we need, how much phosphorus do we need to conserve. And then they asked the engineers and other scientists to say, well, if we had to pay people to do these practices, or if we had to put in physical best management practices to sequester this phosphor, how much would it cost? Well, it would cost about $130 million over 20 years in Dane County. And that roughs out to $7 million a year, which actually in Dane County probably isn't that unrealistic. They could potentially budget for this amount of conservation. However, that also has to compete with everything else that's being paid for through both tax dollars and donations. So they're stressed out about that. We took roughly that number and said, well, what about the Wisconsin River watershed? This is sort of the middle quarter of the state of Wisconsin. It too has nutrient issues. If you went to Petenwell and Castle Rock flowages in the central part of the state in the summer, you'd find some pretty intense algal blooms. If you go down to Lake Wisconsin, which is another flowage on the river, you'd find problems with algae. So how much do they have to reduce? Well, they have to reduce 1 million pounds a year, or 20 times that number. So 20 times 7, $140 million a year. Nobody has that kind of money. So what do? Do we just throw up our hands and say, well, that's too bad. I guess we have to just live with polluted water. We have to live with toxic riverways. And the answer is no. We're going to do other stuff. We're going to count on volunteers and organizations like your organizations to rally, to raise money, to encourage people to do things, to do the right thing voluntarily, to educate your own members around the lake, to reach out to landowners in your entire watershed. And we're going to try and do this basically through volunteerism and fundraising, right? The challenge is that your organizations may not be firing on all cylinders and ready to take on this challenge. So with the DNR's blessing, what we decided to do is focus on organizational capacity building, trying to make these organizations more capable, stronger, developed with essentially more robust programs so that we can take on these nutrient challenges. And this is really just thinking about nutrients. You can add on top of that invasive species, recreation conflict, all sorts of other issues that you're facing. So rather than start from scratch, we looked around and we found that Minnesota had been having some of these same conversations. They've been thinking about their organizations. If anybody here is from Minnesota, you know they have a lot of lakes and they also have a lot of lake associations. So they're all trying to do the same thing. And a woman named Mae Davenport had worked with some other researchers, and they said, you know what, let's just borrow from some other social science researchers and let's figure out, like, there's this pyramid, if you will, the pyramid of capacity. So hopefully you've seen this before, but if you haven't, what we're doing today is just sort of orienting you to what is this capacity pyramid, what are the different pieces of it, and then what are some resources that the partnership and Extension Lakes can provide to lake organizations to help them become better organizations, to help you boost your organizational capacity. This pyramid is made up of these 4 pieces that you can see on the slide. It's not by accident that it's designed as this pyramid, because the base of it is the community that you're in, your membership, the people who are potential members, but they're not yet members, the people you need to reach out to and connect with and say, this is why we're working on these water issues. In the middle of the pyramid are sort of some kind of wonky terms, but it's your internal functions. How is your lake district or lake association set up in its own shop? Who's doing what? Do you have good board members? And we're going to talk in detail about that. External relationships is sort of a recognition, just like the Lakes Partnership, you are not going to get this done alone. You need to partner with other people. Who are those people? It's your local government, could be a town, city, or village. It's your county. It's other organizations. It's bigger groups that are working on some of the same challenges, or it's groups that are working on slightly different challenges, but you might want to pull in the same direction and help each other out. And then finally, why are we doing all this? It's to get things done. The programmatic capacity has to do with what can you accomplish on an annual basis, on a 5-year basis, on a 20-year basis. What can you actually be working on? So the base of the pyramid leads to the top. What we found, talking to groups, Sarah and I, is that a lot of people just want to race right to the top. They want to jump to programmatic capacity. We want to do all these things, but they haven't necessarily paid attention to the base of the pyramid. The reason that's a challenge is that, or a problem, is that it leads to burnout. And it leads to, like, one person did all the work, they were the programmatic person, and there was nobody around to support them. And so when they burn out and check out, everything kind of falls apart. So we're trying to work with you all lake organizations, watershed groups, to try to get a more robust set of resources and to try to answer your questions about organizational capacity. Sarah is going to join me now and talk a little bit more detail about these different things. I'm going to go next door because we're going to have a plenary session after this. I'm going to help make sure that's set up. But thank you, Sarah.
All right, thank you, Eric. So before we dive in deeper, I just want to kind of get a pulse for the room. How many is this new to you? How many is this like the first time you're hearing about these different sections of capacity? And it's okay to say, yep, this is new. This is why I'm here. This is why we want you here. This is what I get really excited about. I don't know why. Am I getting really close to the camera? Sorry. I like to learn from all of the organizations to find out what are the challenges, what are you all dealing with, and how can we help support you in different ways. All the organizations are different. You all are going through different things and trying to tackle different issues. But most of the time, the issues that you're dealing with, we can find ourselves being like, oh, that's a membership issue or a base of the pyramid issue, or oh, that has to do a lot with. And what we found is a lot of it has to do with those internal functions, how boards interact. Are you all pushing in the same direction? How are you communicating? Do you all get along? Are you just going to meetings, or are you actually, moving things forward? And that's where a lot of the challenges we see fall, which I think is really exciting and fun, but also daunting. So, so where do you begin? Where do you start? You can't take on all four of these components of capacity at once. You really have to figure out, okay, as an organization, where do we need to focus? Do we need to focus more on that base of that membership, or do we need to focus more on building our external relationships? So how do you know? So I just wanted to take a minute, because it is 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm glad you're all here. But let's have maybe a minute conversation with your table, your neighbor, just to talk about are we being successful? Do we have capacity as an organization, and how do we know? So take a minute, chat, and you online can share your ideas in the chat.
Just writing anyone that comes in. Is that the idea? Anyone that comes in the group.
Sounds good. Good to hear all the talking. All right. Oh, I don't want to break it up. It's great to hear you all talking. How about we bring it back? Sorry if I'm yelling in the microphone. All right. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, are we ready? It's great to hear you all talking. I need to move the mic closer to my mouth. This is great. I want to just keep talking. It's fun to talk, and we need to do that. We need to do that more, and that's why it's great to bring you all together from across the state for this event. So what were some of the things that came up? Is your organization successful, and how do you know? What were some of the ideas you were discussing? Does anyone want to share? Yeah. Got it. Okay, so for the virtual folks to also hear what you said is getting the next generation of people involved in the organization so that those of you who are ready to like move on and actually retire or do other things can do so. And everyone, yes, is in agreement to that. Great. What else? Okay, so being proactive, planning, how do we do this? Things are going to come in the future. Let's not wait for that to happen, but plan for it and have these steps in place. So you're talking about, do you have these in place? Is this how you know your organization is successful? Or are you like, this is what we need to do? You're identifying those pieces, right? That this is what you might need to work on. Great. Okay. In the back. Yes, great. Okay, so seasonality, a lot of the lakes, maybe in, well, northern Wisconsin or in other places that might not have a lot of year-round residents. So you have a challenge of just keeping people involved, getting them involved when they're only there for a couple months out of the year. Yeah. Yeah, this is like the world right now, right? So again, for virtual, for our virtual audience and for those that didn't hear, you have 276 potential, so people on the lake, and 5 are on your board, and 2 are really active, and then there's, like you said, 10 times more complainers. And everyone's nodding. Yep, yep, yep. Okay, so you have like you have capacity there. You have people there. Just how do you get them to step up and be part of it in some way? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Yep. Here. And I'm going to say that that are written for large organizations. So the two of us on our board by Canada, and we said 4 years someone who did that work. Defining things that we didn't have any plan, but it was all about we don't have any voice. We need to be private. There's no administrative system. So we do. Okay. And you know, the guy said, "Oh, you're working on this 10,000 stuff for the doing all this other." Okay. So I'm thinking, I don't know how to use your guess, you know. And your Lake District? Lake, so again, for virtual folks, Lake District, 5 commissioners, knowing how to communicate amongst each other, being subject to open records laws. And they're going through legal issues that is just a nightmare. So yeah, so communication and yeah, what laws do we follow? What are the rules, the laws that you have to follow as districts, and districts are different from associations. Okay, one more and then we're going to move on a little bit. Great. Got it. Okay, good. So building the community and the importance of building just your community, get to know each other, building the trust. Building the community around the lake. And I'm just going to go back to the pyramid. The bottom, the base, that membership doesn't necessarily have to be membership. We've talked about this, renaming it, maybe just like supporters or community, because it really is, they don't have to be paying members. They can be members in other ways. There's a lot of ways to be members. There's a lot of way to build community, and it takes so much work, right? It's such a long time to build that community of people who you can then consider friends, or at least not friends. You know your neighbors, you know who's who and who to go to and who has these strengths and who's working on these issues, and you have your network of people, and trust, I think, is a really big issue that it takes, as we know, a long time to develop. So, and that's why, I mean, it's at the bottom, but it's the hardest and it's the most important, I think, to get to all the other issues that we're talking about. So thank you for sharing some of your issues. I'm glad you're here. It's not, I mean, we're not going to solve anything probably today, just that we're here together, and we can count on each other and get in touch with us, and we can connect you with each other as well to continue this. And what we did last year is we had a workshop where we focused on capacity, and then we met in May, June, July, and August, I think, virtually. So we kept having these conversations after the convention. So if that's something that we, should continue doing, let us know, and we can definitely set that up. Okay, I don't want to run out of time, and it's already almost 8:30. So what I have here is your organization successful? So some might say, yeah, we've got 75% of our potential members, they're members. That might be one way to measure your success. Are you successful? Number of volunteers. If you have a lot of volunteers, you might be doing pretty good, and you're like, yep, we're great. We have so many volunteers, they're lining up, waiting to help. Some might have a lot of volunteers. Oh, I think most are looking for more. Amount of money is another way you can measure. Like, do you have a lot of grants? Are you you have money to do the projects that you want to do? That's one way of measuring success. But I think a lot of organizations might have money but still not be able to do anything with it, or they're not sure how to do anything with it or what to do. Ability to adapt. So I'll just run through these real quick. Organizations that can quickly adapt to situations might be successful. Longevity. So those that are around for 50 years might be like, oh, that's a really successful organization. Or it might just be around for 50 years, right? How do we measure success? So there's lots of different ways. Community influence and number of followers on social media. Some might say, yeah, we have a huge following. We have 10,000 followers on social media. We're successful. It might be one measurement of success, but again, all of these, we all have to measure success differently by what we need and by what your organization is dealing with. But these are just a few measures of success that you might if you're, you know, if you're doing good, if you have a successful organization, this might be, how you measure your success. And then impact and accomplishments. So I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper into what some of these are. Membership, the base of the pyramid, like we already talked about. Okay, do you have a recruitment plan? So how many of you have a membership recruitment plan? Okay, you have a couple hands. How do we recruit members? How do we communicate to them? What are we asking? Are there different membership levels or packages? What do they get for being a member? So being able to outline and communicate what that means. If someone says, what does it mean to be a member? Yep, districts are different than associations. Absolutely. Great. So district shared an example of providing a reimbursement program for doing certain practices and just getting some runoff related to get some funds back. And it's a good incentive for them to then see what you're doing and value the organization. That's what you want them to do. You want them to value the district or the association and then continue to give back and do more. So thank you for that. So I'm going to keep going just for time. Engage members in multiple ways. So this is one of the things I think you were talking about. I can't stand behind a podium. This is really hard. So engaging members in multiple ways. Yeah. Do they have opportunities to participate? Is it just a meeting? Are they invited to meetings once a year or twice a year? Or are there other ways for them to engage? Are there opportunities for them to be involved? Perhaps this is something, and you all might have ideas too. Submitting something for your newsletter or being active if you have social media. Can members share successes or something that way? Can they organize an event? Do you have events that they can be part of throughout the year? Do they have some skills, and we'll get to this in a minute, that they can contribute as members that makes them feel like they're able to provide feedback or engage with the organization more than just maybe attending an annual meeting? Communicating successes, telling the story. So we want to make sure that it's not just about become a member. We're dealing with these issues. We need, this is what we're going to be working on, but are there successes happening around your lake? Are there stories to tell? Maybe you have someone around your lake who's a really good storyteller, or who's like the person who just goes out and talks to everyone and they know what's going on. Maybe they can collect some cool stories about what's happening on the lake. Maybe it's history, developing what was the lake like 50 years ago? Who was here, who lived here before, and providing some of the history of the lake. Telling the story. We all have stories. We all have things we want to share. We all value the lake in different ways. Is there a way to tell those stories and really get more engagement with your supporters, with your membership? And then a communications plan. How are you getting the word out to your community, to your supporters, to your membership? Do you have a newsletter that goes out? How often? Are there other ways that you're communicating? Like I mentioned, do you have social media? Maybe it's if you're building this community, and this is what we all have to, I think, work on more and just need more time in the day is to develop that community. So we have on our lake, we have a private Facebook group. I know not everyone uses Facebook, but it's a private group that we just chat, we share things. We're like, hey, we're going out paddling. Who wants to join us? I found this new cool plant. Does anyone know whose it is or what it is? Just all the cool things that are happening, and people can share those. And then you can share excitement and be like, oh, I don't know this person. And so you're building community through social media. It's private though, so the public can't come in. And it's like your own little networking space. So I encourage you to have something like that set up if you have that ability or some other way to get to know each other throughout the year, building that community, not just maybe at an annual meeting. Okay, now in internal functions, this is my favorite. Why? I don't know. Peter knows this is my favorite. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's easier for you to do that than me to have to repeat.
Our lake has a Facebook site called the Mead Lake Facebook, and there's a lot of people on it. And we recently put up for public comment a revision to the Mead Lake Management Plan. And what we were able to track with that, since we talked to them, is that we had how many people looked at the post, how many people engaged with the post, and how many people were there total. So when we're supposed to go through a 21-day public comment period, besides the newspaper, we knew that we had about 40% of the people that engaged with the link to go look at the plan. And that was pretty good result in my book. And we were able to get all the best public comments that we could. We only got 5 people that commented on the plan, but we knew we had data to track how effective that was being. So something like what you just mentioned on Facebook or any other private chat, those statistics can be had to know if you're getting anywhere.
Yes. Great. Yeah. A lot of times, thank you. You send a newsletter out and you don't know who's reading it or how people, if they're reading it. So having something like the analytics on social media or some other tool lets you get that feedback of how many people saw it, clicked on it, viewed it, reacted to it. Good. Great. Thank you. Okay. Internal functions. So I don't know. I like to try to figure people out. I don't know if that's a good thing. No. But internal functions, it's I think where a lot of our issues are when it comes to boards and getting things done and feeling like we're getting somewhere, we're making progress. Here's a few tools that we've been working on. Peter Jensen in the back has been a huge help. Is Dave in here? Dave Quady. All right. John Richter, others too have helped with this. So thank you. Skills gap analysis or a board matrix. So this is a tool that we can help you develop if you haven't done this yet. But again, you're trying to figure out who's around the lake or who's available to help with these issues and what skills do you have. You might have people on that you have no idea that they have like all these social media or writing or videography or financial skills. They have all these skills. They just might not know that you need their skills. So being able to put out some type of survey to see who's out there. These are the skills we need. So first you have to identify what you need as an organization, and then sending out a simple survey to survey your community. Do you have these skills? We're looking for this, 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 and this. And the feedback hopefully you get is, oh, these people are there. They just didn't know how to participate. They didn't know we needed their skills. And now we are looking specifically for this. And if I know that I've been asked before, can you be on a board? And I'm like, I guess. And I don't really feel useful because I don't know what I'm needed for. But if they're saying, we need your skill in this, I'm like, okay, now I know what I can contribute. I know what they need. So I think it's more impactful that way if you know exactly what you're looking for. But I know it takes time to get there because right now you might just we need someone to fill that role, right? We don't care who, but once you can get to that point where you're like, we need someone with these skills to fill those roles, hopefully you'll be able to find those people to step up. Position descriptions help too. This is more for associations, but even for districts, having clear clear expectations about what's chair or president or vice chair, treasurer, secretary, or what the commissioners do, what the time commitment is, specific skills you're looking for with these. It helps to have that out. I know a lot of associations specifically have said, I'm willing to do that, but how much time is this going to take? So it's nice to be able to say it's going to take you, it's like 5 hours a week or whatever it might be. It gives them a little bit more like, okay, I can do that. So knowing a little bit about time commitment is important too. Evaluation process, I'm going to skip that one right now. And then a shared understanding of the organization's capacity. So understanding as a board, so being able to agree on what you need and what you're working towards, I think as a board is one of those internal functions that you really need to have those discussions and come to that agreement before you can move forward. On our website, so I will show you some of the resources in a couple minutes, and it's already 8:40. Okay, I'll go through these two, and I think we'll get to the resources then that we can look at. External relationships. So again, well, Eric mentioned these a little bit, but identifying potential partners and inviting them to contribute. So who else is in your community, not just immediately around the lake, right? Or that's part of your organization, but who are those external organizations? There's schools, there's youth groups, there's camps, campgrounds. There's other nonprofit organizations, churches, I always say that. I mean, restaurants, there's all these other external partners that they're in your community. They might have membership as well. They might be out there trying to solve and tackle issues within your community. So how can you reach out to them and be a partner on their events? Maybe inviting them to be a partner on some of your activities if you're looking for additional volunteers or support. So just being able to strengthen the community network and contribute to the success of both of your organizations or all of the organizations. And then you're not isolated, you're not working just on your own, but you really have this network of community support. So that's something else that takes a lot of time to develop. First, you have to just identify who else is in the community working on, maybe the similar issues, and who might you want to develop some relationships with. And developing relationships with your local and state elected officials is an important one too, and making sure that your elected officials are invited to your events, that they get your member or your newsletters, that they're involved in your meetings. So you're building that relationship with them. So they know who you are and you know who they are. You might have a committee dedicated to just building those external relationships, a group of people who they like to do that. They like to talk, they like to go out and visit people, they like to build those relationships. That might be a committee, a group of people that's what they do. And then programmatic capacity at the tip of the pyramid. We talked about this a little bit. It can be all the things that we do, clean boats, clean waters, writing grants, Citizen Lake Monitoring Network, Healthy Lakes and Rivers, all the things that we have to do, right? But we can't do without all of the people or the funds or the network, the communication. So that's a really brief run through of all the 4 components. I'm going to skip these for right now. Here's the skills gap analysis. So I'll just briefly go through this and then I'll show you where to find it. So we have our work plan tasks on the left. This is very basic. We want to cultivate partners with key stakeholders. That's one thing we want to do as our organization. Well, we need skills. The skills we need someone who has a large network or who knows people. People that have been in the community for a while that kind of maybe know those important people or the players out there. They aren't afraid to reach out to new or potential partners. So people who really like to talk and get out there. Big ideas, visionary, and a people person. So those are the skills we're looking for. And someone might say, oh, that sounds like me. I really like to do that. I'm your person. We have board members. These are just pretend people. Judy and Frank might be board members who said, I identify myself. I am that person. So another task we might say was, we need someone to coordinate our clean boats activities. And these are the skills that they need. And there's someone that came and says, I live at the lake full time. I'm happy to do this. This is what I will, sign up to do this. But then we'd have down here, maybe we need someone to raise $10,000 or to organize our annual picnic and summer picnic. We need someone to do that. And we might not have anyone who we already have identified with those skills. So that's where we might send a communication out to the organization saying, these are the skills we're looking for. This is, this is why, this is what we need. So it's a specific ask. It's very direct and specific so that people know exactly what we're looking for. It's not just a big, we have a board vacancy. It's pretty specific. So that's like the gist of it. But we have more examples on our website. I might have to come back to this one. Yep, I have 5 minutes. So I'm going to go to the resources, and these slides will be available. All of our presentation, we'll put all of our slides out on our website, and we are recording our virtual sessions, so the recording will also be available. So the Extension Lakes website, you can just go to UW Stevens Point and search for Extension Lakes, and our website will come up. We have our capacity corner. This is our capacity. So there's a page, like a sub-site within our website. It's capacity corner, and it's got the pyramid in 4 different areas. So you can learn more about membership, external, internal, and programs. So that's where you would find a lot of the tools. We have samples, position descriptions. We have sample skills gap analysis. We're always working and refining, developing new ones. And we want to work with you. Like, if you want to do this, we'd love to help develop it and then review it and be like, oh my gosh, that's a really great idea. Can I share this with others? Because we want to be able to share resources too. So that's our website, definitely. And I can always, well, I send this out probably every other month to our Lake Board Bulletin group of people who's on the lake list. And let me go back to that. What's the lake list? The lake list is another tool on our website. How many of you are familiar with the lake list? Okay, good. So a few of you. This is where we try to keep up with all the lake organizations in the state. We have them all, hopefully all documented on our lake list. You could go there, you can search your lake organization. You can search by county, by lake name, or by the organization name. And then we have all of the board members listed, or those that want to be listed as contacts. If we have all those contacts, so we have probably close to 2,500 contacts for all of the boards across the state in both associations and districts and other organizations. We send out a newsletter every other month to all of you who are on the lake list. So this is how we try to share information and get your feedback and keep this updated. So you can go here and you can find out what other lakes are around me, how many lakes associations are in my county. It's a tool for you to use as well to reach out to other organizations. People of the Lakes, a guide for Wisconsin lake organizations. This is a guide that's available on our website as a PDF. You can download it for free, or you can purchase it from us. It's just all about, you all are probably familiar with it, how to start a lake association, how to start a lake district, how to operate a lake district. It's got sample bylaws. It's got a lot of great information in it, and it is due for an update. And we're going to be working on that. Good. It's a good starting place. That's like the place to go to answer any questions, but it is due for an update. Hopefully we'll get to that. So People of the Lakes, you can just search for that too on Google and it'll come up. Lake Tides is another, you probably all get it. If you don't already get Lake Tides, we do have a capacity corner in there every time we send out this publication. So we're just trying to share more information every time the publication goes out to build your capacity. We started something fun. I think it's fun. We have these monthly chats. We did one in January, one in February, where we're having conversations and we're recording them. Our first one was just about this capacity, like the basic introduction to capacity. Second one was communicating effectively using email. There's so much to learn about email. So if you communicate via email to your membership, to your board, I highly recommend going on our website or YouTube our YouTube channel, Extension Lakes YouTube channel, and watching that. And there's so much if you've never thought about how to communicate effectively using email. Very important. And I will have another one coming out. Episode 3 will be on annual meetings. So that will be a really important one to watch as well. So we're just trying to get information out in new ways, fun ways, interactive ways. You can listen to it when you're taking a walk or something. I don't know. And then we have 2 capacity courses that we developed. These are pilots. We have one for lake associations and one for lake districts. So this is mostly, we've packaged our material in a way where you can just go through it as a course, and then you get a certificate of completion at the end, because people like getting certificates and showing that they've completed something. So it's free. You can enroll on your own, and you have 90 days to complete it. So it's a way to, if you want to share this with board members or potential board members, this is a way to get some information to them in a fun, easy way, and they get a certificate. And finally, we have a Facebook discussion group. Currently, there's 91 members. I'd love, if you are on Facebook, would love for all of you to be on there too. This is where we're trying to communicate statewide, again, with lots of different lake organizations to find out what issues are you dealing with and how are you dealing with them. So it's a communication. You can ask a question and others will answer and say, this is what we've done. And it's private. I accept everyone that comes in. So I usually look to see who you are and if you're a real person. So you can just search for WI Lake Org Board Officers, and you should find it, and you'll have to ask to join or request to join. And so that's just something else we're trying to figure out how to best communicate across the state. Okay, finally, I keep saying that, finally, one more slide and then I have to stop because it's 8:50. So we have Lake Leaders Institute coming up, Cruise 16 next year, 2026. So I will be sending out a nomination, call for nominations if you're interested in becoming a lake leader. If you don't know what that means, I would love to talk more about that with you. Are there any lake leaders in the room? Yes, I know there are. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lake leaders in the room. They've usually have the little buttons on that say what crew they're part of. Feel free to reach out to them and ask questions about what Lake Leaders is. We'd love to have you nominate yourself or others. Okay, I think my time is up. We're going to have keynote is next in this room. So we're going to go watch our keynote, but I will take any questions if you have any. I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here, and reach out with any questions. Thank you. Virtual folks will be leaving this meeting and clicking on the keynote plenary session link.